Book 3 is entitled Telemachus, Athena, and Nestor. At the beginning of Book 3, we see that Telemachus arrives at Pylos, and that is the kingdom of Nestor. An offering is taking place when he arrives. It's a ceremony, and we hear in the book that there are 9 companies of 500 men in each company. This ceremony then contains 4,500 men, and each one of the companies bring 9 bulls to sacrifice. So 81 bulls in total are going to be sacrificed. It's important to note that this is a ceremony of sacrifice to Poseidon. Many times bulls were sacrificed to Poseidon. And Athena, when Telemachus first arrives, Athena gives him courage and tells him to go right up there and approach Nestor. He's very nervous, still unsure of himself, but he does approach, and the people of Pylos flock to him and they greet him, show very good hospitality to him. One of Nestor's sons, by the name of Pisistratus, he approaches and greets him and gives him food and wine and encourages Telemachus to offer a prayer to Poseidon because the feast is in his honor. Now, this could be very helpful to Telemachus because of Poseidon's hatred of Odysseus. It would help Telemachus get in his good graces. Nestor or Pisistratus then offers Mentor, and remember that is Athena that's disguised as Mentor. He offers Mentor the first cup. This shows good manners because Mentor is the oldest person that's in the group that's traveling with Telemachus, but it's also good because she's a god. Even though Pisistratus does not know that, it's going to work in his favor because she is a god. Athena then offers a prayer to Poseidon. Nestor then comes forward and asks where they are from, now that their needs have been met. Telemachus says that he is from Ithaca. He reveals that he is Odysseus' son. Here's Telemachus being welcomed by Nestor. He reveals he's Odysseus' son and says that he's seeking news of him. Nestor, he then remembers immediately all of the horrors of Troy, the deaths, 9 long years of fighting. But what he remembered most was that Odysseus was one of the most well-known fighters there. And that was because of his cunning. That was the trait he was most known for, was his cunning. Nestor then goes on to tell him what happened when he left the war. After the war was over, we'll go to a map here. There's a map of the war, and we're going to see here's Ithaca right here. This is where Odysseus is from. Troy is all the way over here. So that's how they got there, was all the way to Troy. Now we see that Telemachus has traveled from Ithaca down, and if we have to go down a little bit more on the map, all the way down here to Pylos. This is where Nestor is. So he has sailed from Ithaca straight down to Pylos. And so what Nestor tells him is that when they left Troy, there was an argument right before they left between Menelaus and Agamemnon. They fought. Menelaus, remember, this is Helen's husband. Menelaus wanted to go home immediately. He's been gone for 10 years. He's got his wife back. He wants to go home. But Agamemnon, who is the chief, remember, even though they're brothers, he is the chief. He wanted to stay and offer sacrifices to Athena. Now, apparently that was because of the theft of the Palladium. The Palladium was the statue of Athena that was inside of Troy, and they stole it. This fight between Menelaus and Agamemnon ended up splitting the armies. So half of them stayed with Agamemnon in Troy. The other half set sail with Menelaus. Nestor went with Menelaus, and they ended up stopping off at Tenedos, which is right here, this island, to offer the sacrifices. Even then, though, when they stopped at Tenedos, Zeus caused friction among the men, and Zeus's men, and then the army, Menelaus's army, was split again. Odysseus was with that half of the split army. He actually turned back and went to Troy and joined Agamemnon again. Nestor, however, was with the other half of Menelaus's army, and he ended up sailing home. He did have quite a few adventures as he was going home. He didn't arrive home immediately. Nestor did sail home. He and Menelaus actually got split up at one point in time. We will hear that Menelaus, who started here in Greece and Turkey, he ends up landing in Egypt before being able to go back home to Sparta. So you can see that's quite a ways off as well. Nestor said that he had heard that some people came home safely. He'd heard about Achilles' son, about Philoctetes, and then he talks about how Agamemnon returned home and was killed by Aegisthus. We'll go over that story in just one second. He says that Athena favored Odysseus among all of the men that were there in the Trojan War, and then Telemachus asks Nestor to tell him the story about Agamemnon. While Agamemnon was away at war, his wife Clytemnestra was at home. She had several children. As you can remember from one other story, Iphigenia, his daughter, was sacrificed when he left. She was not too happy about that. Clytemnestra was not. So along came Aegisthus. Aegisthus wooed Clytemnestra. At first she refused and didn't want to take him on. But eventually she gave in, and they become lovers for a very long time. Remember, Agamemnon was away at war for 10 years. At home, we had Clytemnestra, Aegisthus, who is now also living in the palace, and two other children who are of note, and that would be Orestes and Electra. So Agamemnon finally comes home from war. As you can imagine, Clytemnestra may not be too happy to see him, and so she and Aegisthus plot to kill him. She is still very bitter at the death of their daughter Iphigenia and the sacrifice that she had been made. And so they devise a plan to go and kill Agamemnon. In this artist portrayal, you'll see that Agamemnon is sleeping, Aegisthus is here, Clytemnestra is here, and he is encouraging her to go forward, and she is the one that has the knife. If you're interested in seeing a different version of this, on the JAG Track page, you can click on The Death of Agamemnon. It was a movie that was done, and it shows, this is the scene where Agamemnon comes back from war, and Clytemnestra is plotting with Aegisthus, and they end up killing him. The more traditional story is that he was in the bathtub, and that's when they came in to kill him. So the story was that he was inside this bathtub. Here's another artist drawing. He was taking a bath after this long journey home and trying to relax now that he's in his own home. She here sneaks up behind him, and here she has the knife. Here is a scene that's depicting of Aegisthus, Clytemnestra. You see she's got an axe here. Here is the slain Agamemnon, and this is Orestes over here, really, really upset about the death of his father, and he wants revenge on his dad. We will see that later on, Orestes comes back because Aegisthus ruled for 7 years after they killed Agamemnon. During the 8th year, Orestes, who had fled, returns home from Athens and kills both Aegisthus and his mother. He gave a feast to celebrate this, and Menelaus says that on the day of the feast that he is celebrating his revenge, that's when Menelaus finally arrives and comes back. So you see this depiction. This is Orestes here, and he is killing Aegisthus, and then afterward he will kill Clytemnestra as well, while Electra looks on. Nestor, then finished with his story about Agamemnon, turns to Telemachus and encourages him to go and visit Menelaus, because at this point Menelaus is going to have more information. He said if he goes by land, then Nestor is going to offer him horses and a chariot and even one of his own sons to accompany him. He invites Telemachus and the crew to sleep at the palace instead of on the ship, but Mentor, Athena in disguise, refuses, telling Telemachus to go ahead and stay, and Mentor says he will sail back. He will take the crew and sail back, and so that Telemachus can go by land. It's important that he goes by land for a number of reasons. One, it's more dangerous. You are going to face more obstacles along the way, and two, you're going to run into more people, and part of this is making a name for himself, growing up and making a name for himself. If he goes by sea, he would not have that opportunity. If he goes by land, he has the opportunity to meet more people and to make a name for himself. So Athena, disguised as Mentor, says, no, you stay. I will go back and ready the ship. And then she immediately turns into an osprey, a bird, and flies away. So everyone now realizes that Mentor was actually a god in disguise, and they are very happy about that. They also realize it was Athena. So at dawn, they make preparations for a sacrifice and for one last feast before they leave. Telemachus then is sent off with Pisistratus, who is Nestor's son, and they are going to go on the journey together by land. Here is a depiction of Telemachus and Pisistratus getting ready to leave, setting off to Sparta. Again, this is going to help make a name for himself. Just to give you a visual again, here is Ithaca. He had traveled all the way down to Pylos, and now he is going to go by land from Pylos in here to Sparta, and that's where he is going to end up meeting Menelaus. End of book 3.